Hello everyone, we are Miller Group Team 2 and we would like to walk you through our case analysis for Biopure. Today we have 5 speakers which include Gary Armstrong, myself Stephen Girali, Nicholas Lopez, Gregory Miller, and Matthew Perda. To begin this section I'd like to start with an introduction about the case study which includes Biopure and its company operations to date. Up to date, Biopure has spent over $200 million on developing Hemopure, which is their blood substitute for the human market. In doing so, Biopure recognized that a similar product could be made for the animal market, and the development of oxyglobin for animal blood substitutes was born. To date, Biopure has yet to release a product since its inception. Currently, the company has sufficient funds to operate for the next 2 years as a going concern. The oxyglobin product is ready to release in the animal market immediately, but Biopure's Hemopure product is still requiring future clinical trials with possible approval in 1999. This next table shows the differences between regular bloods and blood substitutes. You can see with regular blood it requires blood typing, while blood substitutes is a universal blood type. Regular blood has the chance of having disease transmission, which includes the transmission of AIDS, hepatitis B and C, and other diseases, while blood substitutes are free of disease transmission. Regular blood can only last up to 6 weeks, while blood substitutes can make it up to 2 years. Oxygen efficiency for regular blood starts to decrease, and after 10 days is only 50% efficient, while for blood substitutes it's 100% efficient at transporting oxygen. The half-life, or the amount of time that the blood is in the body, is excreted in 1 to 2 months for regular blood, while with blood substitutes it is excreted in 2 to 7 days. Additional capabilities is that with regular blood you can do self-donated blood to reduce complications during surgeries. With blood substitutes, because of a smaller molecule size, it can actually get access to different locations within the body for stroke and heart attacks. This next slide shows the differences between oxyglobin and Hemopure against their counterparts. So you can see in the top table, for regular blood it has to be stored between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius, while oxyglobin can be stored at room temperature. Regular blood comes from donor animals from veterinary offices, while Biopure is made from cattle blood from slaughterhouses. Both products are available now, with regular blood being $50 to $100 per unit and oxyglobin being $50 to $200 per unit. On the Hemopure product side, you can see that regular blood, Baxter Hemocyst, and Northfield Polyheme are all competitors to Hemopure. Like any other blood product, they are required to be at between 2 and 4 degrees Celsius, while Biopure is room temperature stored. Regular blood is made from human blood, while Hemocyst and Polyheme are based off of outdated human blood, and Biopure is obviously made from cattle blood. Each have potential supply issues as noted here on the slide, and as far as the price points go, regular blood goes for $125 to $425 per unit, and Hemocyst, Polyheme, and Hemopure are looking at between $600 and $800 per unit for their product. Next, I would like to welcome Gary Armstrong, who will be going through the current problem set of the case.
Thank you, Steve. The problem statement is, with the upcoming potential launch of oxyglobin and Hemopure, what's the go-to-market strategy will drive the maximum business value for Biopure? With the final approval of oxyglobin, Biopure must decide when to launch oxyglobin relative to Hemopure, what is the pricing strategy for both products, what is the target market for oxyglobin, recognizing that that product is more appropriate for acute cases as opposed to chronic cases, what marketing strategy should be used for both oxyglobin and Hemopure, and how should oxyglobin be distributed, and what is the correct production mix between the two products. Factors to consider include what is the value of the go-to-market process during the first launch, and what is the predicted revenue gain or loss from the different launch timelines, and how will one launch affect the other, specific to the willingness of customers to accept the price difference, and customer impression and customer appreciation. Stakeholders' concerns, including the public's perspective of human versus animal medical needs and their subsequent demand, the government's willing to approve Hemopure and recognizing that there's a chance that it might not be approved, and from a business perspective, what exactly are the odds of getting FDA approval for Hemopure, the timing for taking the company public, and maximizing revenue. Our team broke down 3 different possibilities, or 3 options. Option A would be to wait to launch oxyglobin until Hemopure is ready for the market, and then produce and sell both products at a 50-50 split depending on the market condition at that time. Option B would be to go ahead and immediately launch oxyglobin, and then upon the approval of Hemopure, produce and sell both products at a 50-50 split depending on market conditions at that time. And then option C would be to go ahead and produce immediately and sell oxyglobin, and then when Hemopure is ready for market, switch 100% of production and sales towards Hemopure only and abandon oxyglobin. You can see here halfway down through the upside down triangle that there's 3.6 million cases, and this is just dogs, where a transfusion would be beneficial. Of that, 3.3 million are non-critical and 300,000 are critical cases. As far as price sensitivity, our modeling shows that an increase of $1 in critical cases would decrease demand by 810 opportunities. Again, that's in critical cases of the 300,000. For non-critical cases, and again, just specifically to dogs, a price increase of $1 would result in a demand decrease of 20,790 opportunities. Next, I'd like to welcome Matthew, who will be going into more specifics on option A.
Thanks, Gary. There are several advantages to launching the two products simultaneously. For one, we can still launch oxyglobin even if Hemopure does not gain FDA approval, which minimizes the risk associated with cash flow. In addition, we won't have to worry about any potential bad press from releasing oxyglobin before Hemopure. Another advantage is that customers won't be expecting the lower animal price for the human version. Finally, we can leverage a synergy of launching the two products together. As far as disadvantages, here are some statistics. Only 1 in 10,000 drugs even make it to clinical trials. Then, only 1 in 10 of those drugs make it to the market. So even if oxyglobin got approved and is extremely similar to Hemopure, there is still a 90% chance that Hemopure will not gain FDA approval. This has a massive impact on Biopure if it doesn't get approved or is delayed for FDA approval. Biopure only has enough money set aside to cover 2 years of FDA testing, so that timing is absolutely critical. We're using 2 years for our cost-benefit analysis, as that is what the company has money set aside for. Below is our pricing strategy. According to industry research related to launching animal and human equivalent drugs, the pricing of Hemopure relates to the way Biopure wants to position Hemopure in the market. It is not attributable to quality, production cost, or R&D cost. Industry research on releasing animal and human drugs reveals that, on average, human versions are priced 151% more than animal counterparts. This doesn't mean our pricing strategy has to be exactly to scale, but provides a good model. According to Biopure research, coupled with the bottom-up market segmentation model, we have the following price-demand model. Our optimum price is $200 for oxyglobin, following the 151% pricing strategy for human equivalents, we would price Hemopure at $500. This model is based on a 50-50 split between critical and non-critical factors, as well as a 50-50 split between oxyglobin and Hemopure production. This would mean 225,000 units total, with 150,000 units of oxyglobin and 75,000 units of Hemopure. The chart below shows our financial analysis of option A under two scenarios. It's based on the same pricing model mentioned in the previous slide and also includes the 20% commission for the national distributor channels. With FDA approval, our break-even point is 7 years, and our ROI over a 10-year period is at 116%. Without FDA approval, our break-even point kicks out to 9 years, and our ROI over a 10-year period is at 92%. As mentioned earlier, FDA approval is critical. Without it, it takes 2 extra years to break even. Our revenues drop to $61 million, and our ROI over 10 years drops 24%. Next is Greg Miller, who will be going through option B of our case.
Thank you, Matt. I will be covering case analysis option B. Should we launch oxyglobin in year 1 and Hemopure in year 3 once it's reached FDA approval? There are several advantages to this option, and I'll highlight a few for you. By launching oxyglobin now, Biopure gains needed experience to generate its first revenue. Launching immediately allows for validation of production and distribution capabilities, establishes market diversification for when Hemopure is released, driving up customer awareness. Biopure can create a hedge against possible future FDA delay in approval of Hemopure. Biopure is planning on utilizing profits from the sale of oxyglobin to increase production capacity, planning for future release of Hemopure. However, there's some disadvantage in this option, as human versions are priced at 150% more than animal counterparts. Biopure could experience bad press if not successful, and cost to expand production capacity could limit growth of company. I will now show you how we determine pricing for this option. Utilizing a forecasting model and focusing on the veterinarian market, year 1 and year 2 is 100% oxyglobin, with market segmentation determined by 52% towards critical cases and 48% on non-critical. In year 3, once Hemopure is approved, production would shift to 50% oxyglobin and 50% Hemopure, maintaining market segmentation focus. Demand would be targeted 300K, and pricing model determined optimal price of $200 per unit of oxyglobin. Now we will take a look at the change which will occur in year 3. Our assumption is Hemopure would complete FDA approval in 2 years. Production strategy would shift to 50% oxyglobin and 50% Hemopure. We determined demand target at 225K and optimal pricing of oxyglobin at $200 per unit, with Hemopure being $500 per unit. Included in our financial analysis is 20% commission for national distribution channels. Looking at option B, summary chart, we have determined break-even point with FDA approval is 7 years, and without FDA approval is 8 years. You can see the total revenue stream and expenditures Biopure would produce with this option. Finally, one of the most critical factors is the return on investment. If we have FDA approval of Hemopure, an ROI of 164% could be generated. However, without FDA approval, the ROI would only be 140%. Next, I would like to welcome Nicholas Lopez, who will be going through our option C of the case and will conclude the presentation with our recommendations.
Thank you, Greg. Our team has also identified a third option. In this option, oxyglobin is launched in year 1, and if and when Hemopure is approved, all production capacity will be switched to Hemopure. The advantages include the revenue in the first 2 years while Hemopure completes clinical trials. This will be essential for the consideration of a possible IPO or future investment activities. If for some reason Hemopure does not gain FDA approval, Biopure can continue to sell oxyglobin. Since the two products will not be in the market at the same time, the price differentiation constraint will not apply. A key disadvantage of this option is the need to discontinue a successful product. This will have a serious impact on Biopure employees who focus on oxyglobin and the vet market. The business case for this option might seem somewhat extreme, but is also very logical. If Hemopure is approved by the FDA, there is no business value in selling oxyglobin. With limited capacity and each drug sharing the same variable costs, it is more beneficial to sell the more profitable version. As far as price goes, for the first 2 years, oxyglobin will be priced where demand equals supply at $200 per unit. Starting year 3, Hemopure will be launched and will not be bound by the price constraints. This, along with our limited capacity of 150,000 units, allow us to price Hemopure at the upper end of the spectrum at $750 per unit. This puts the 10-year ROI at 266%, breaking even in 6 years. If Hemopure does not gain FDA approval, Biopure simply continues to sell oxyglobin, which will decrease the 10-year ROI and extend the break-even point. To conclude our team's analysis, we will summarize all 3 options. Option A has the highest risk and generates no revenue in the first 2 years. Option B does generate revenue in the first 2 years and can also sustain Biopure if Hemopure is not approved. Option C has the lowest risk level and has the greatest potential gain if Hemopure is approved. This is because the option breaks the animal versus human price constraint. Because of this, option C also breaks the risk-return ratio set by the other 2 options. By flipping it, risk is minimized while opportunity is maximized. Here you can see option C has the shortest break-even point if Hemopure is approved, and along with option B has the shortest break-even point if Hemopure is not approved. You can also see that the ROI of option C is almost equal to the ROIs of the other 2 options combined. Given our analysis of the facts of this case and our research of the industry and market, our team recommends option C. Option C will be executed by launching oxyglobin in the vet market in year 1, priced at $200 per unit. In year 3, efforts will shift to the sale of Hemopure, priced at $750 per unit. Both products will leverage national distributors for a percentage of sales. There's also an opportunity for a new profit stream, licensing the product oxyglobin to another firm. The other firm would manufacture and sell oxyglobin, with Biopure collecting a percentage of sales as a royalty. It would be essential to include a non-compete clause so that the licensed products do not end up in the human market. Well, that concludes our team's presentation on the Biopure case analysis. We look forward to your feedback on the RAMCT discussion board. Thank you.